Now, what on earth is wrong with people who are not religious? I'm married to a Jewish lady. My son is Jewish. They're not offended that I serve midnight mass or that we celebrate Christmas. My goodness, if you don't like it when I say to you the words, Merry Christmas, switch a little gear of politeness in your brain, and pretend you're hearing me say, good morning, how are you, have a nice day. Because it is not intended as an affront to you. Likewise, when you tell me that I'm believing in a myth and I'm believing in a fairy tale and a story, and then I just read one of these leading atheists said the story of Jesus is fiction. We don't even know if he was born. Probably the most examined and recorded event in human history, where history puts all of these events in one place, in one time, in one moment. We're not supposed to be offended, and I don't want to, rush and get offended every time somebody says good morning. So that. As I'm talking to you, coming across the wire is the news out of the United Kingdom in the Guardian paper that 2008 will be the coolest year of the decade. And my friends, I have filled in for hundreds of radio shows in the past 2 or 3 years, and it almost seems that every time I'm on the air, there comes across the wire another piece of news that evidences that there's no such thing of man-made global warming, which there is, of course, no evidence for. And if you think there is, then you've got to come back to reality. If you thought a year with one Michael Moore movie was a year where you had sort of in-your-face leftist ideology thrown at you, or fiction, in the interest of full disclosure, Michael Moore was a client of mine. This is a guy I knew personally and interacted with professionally, if you can believe such a thing. Well, you do what you got to do, as you know. Fired him as a client, of course.
Yeah, exactly. But you're right. My point was I wanted to respond to Jim. But I think yours and Bill's, first of all, your theory that he's going for the second term is totally on the money, because if you listen to Barack Obama, he kept referring to his second term during the campaign. He was like, for him it was a given. If he gets in, he's going to get a second term. And, so that was a little scary.
Well, the other scary part of that, I don't know if you caught this, Ken, he kept talking about living the American dream. And when President-elect Obama says the American dream, I want to know what on earth he's talking about. What is his idea of the American dream? I know what mine is. I have a hunch what yours is. And then Bill O'Reilly said something in the past 2 days, and he's very accurate about this take he has on President-elect Obama. Bill was saying that he believes President-elect Obama will govern, or if you're one of Obama's spokespeople, you don't use the word govern, you use the word rule. He will rule. Bill O'Reilly was using the concept that President-elect Obama will govern more to the right as a type of conservative. Now, Bill's on to something here, and I don't know if it's true or any more true. Bill was giving his opinion, and I tend to agree with him. But the thing I want to point out to you, I want to pick up on what Bill was saying. I want to point out something. President-elect Obama has already begun running for his second term. This is what you've got to understand. The entire first term of the Obama administration is all about ensuring that there is a second term to the administration. Got it? The entire first term is all about ensuring there is a second term. So my question, my comment, my opinion, my observation is this. If he runs as a center-right president for the first term, so that he can ensure being elected into a second term, what sort of left-leaning, nasty surprises would there be for us in the second term, which is what makes our examination of this first term all the more important. And, of course, we talk about redefining conservatism. It makes it all the more important for conservatives to wake up and do that. And I personally do not know if Sarah Palin is the answer to that question. What do you think, Jerry, about my theory and Bill's theory that he's got to govern for term number 1 as a center right-leaning character so that he can ensure term number 2 where he can do all the left nasties that we are worried about?
Unless he doesn't care about re-election, you're right. He's got to govern. He's got to match most of our beliefs.
And what about my theory that term number 2 is where he starts making all these terrible judicial appointments and all the other havoc he can wreak on the country?
If he wins by a wider margin, and that is basically up to the Republicans, they have to feel.
Well, and that goes to the heart of the point, Jerry. It is up to the conservatives, and I suppose the Republicans, to start addressing this now during the first term so that there is no Barack Obama second term. Urbanski says is the possible flaw in the nice lady known as Sarah Palin. This is the flaw. It was very exciting to be asked, but my goodness, you got to go look him in the eye and say, sir, we got to have a heart-to-heart, but for me to go out and join you on this train. All right, Jerry. Jerry, thanks for calling the Radio Factor. I want to, Ken from Brooklyn is calling, and he wants to help me out on something. We had that caller a few minutes ago who told us that Hitler was a Catholic, and they love Catholic bashing. Stalin was a Catholic. Ken, welcome to the Factor. What's on your mind?
Hey, thank you for taking my call. Just quickly, I thought you were going to say that Sarah Palin should have told him if she was really sure that, you know what, Senator, I'm just not ready yet.
That's what I was hoping that Barack Obama was going to say to the public at some point in the past 2 years. I was here, as you know, some of you may know, filling in for Bill O'Reilly about 2 weeks ago, and I mentioned at the beginning of the show that if you hadn't heard me before, I am a Catholic, I am a capitalist, and I am a conservative. I mention on the radio that I'm a Catholic. Immediately, there's about 50 pieces of hate mail that come into my inbox. Immediately. I don't know if they're from the same person or who they're from, but I'm very proud of being a Catholic. I get in trouble, and I got in very big trouble on the radio filling in on another national show a little bit earlier this year. And I am a Hollywood conservative. I am a film producer. I'm in the middle of this world. There's a lot of conservatives in Hollywood. You don't necessarily know their names. They're not public about it. There's no one I know who comes on the radio and will talk to several million people publicly and say they're a conservative. So I made the comment that I was a very out-of-the-closet public conservative. Well, this caused a huge problem. And there were people in Hollywood that called stations and said, you've got to get this guy off the radio as fast as possible. And he's not a conservative, they said, which was hilarious because my bona fides in that regard are unquestionable.